Lesson 2.1, Transformations of Quadratic Functions. How do you describe and write transformations of quadratic functions? So we have two more problems we're going to do as a class using both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 skills, and then you'll have some independent practice to do on your own. So if this was a Chapter 1 problem, and I was asked to just describe the transformation that I see, what do I see? I see on the outside that I am multiplying by a negative, which would have told me that I needed to reflect across the x-axis. I also saw that I had to multiply by a half. It's on the outside, so this was a vertical. Because it was smaller than 1, we know it was a shrink, and it's a shrink by a 1/2. This is me describing what I see using my Chapter 1. So if it was a reflect across the x-axis, that meant I am now going down. So here is me going down my parent movements. But now I see that I'm supposed to change my verticals by multiplying them all by a half. So now I need to change all my verticals by 1/2. So 1 times a half meant I'm now going down 1/2. 3 times a half meant I'm now going down 1.5, 1.5, 3/2. 5 times a half meant I'm going down 5/2, which is 2.5. So my reflection told me to go down. My vertical stretched by a half said all these verticals need to change by a half. So I multiplied them all by a half. This was Chapter 1. Well, how could we read this and do Chapter 2? So using Chapter 2, I see, so f of x equals, I have my a, here is my a. I needed an x minus something. What was I subtracting to where it didn't exist? It was actually a 0. And I'm not adding anything here, so I'm actually adding the 0. This is the vertex form. So if I needed to find my vertex, I needed to identify the h and the k. My h was 0. My k was 0. So my vertex is the coordinate point 0, 0. My a is the negative 1/2, which told me a reflection across the x-axis and the vertical shrink by a half, which did these movements. So Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 go hand in hand. So I had no move left, move right. My vertex was still at 0, 0. Now I just need to make sure that I go down and I multiply by a half. So I need to go over 1, down 1/2, over 1, down 1.5, over 1, down 2.5. And here is my quadratic function using both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 skills. Because it said to describe. I had to do Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 skills together. Let's do the second one together. I am describing. So I see on the inside, I see I'm multiplying by 2. So we haven't done a problem like this yet. This is the first time we're going to do it. So on the inside, I see I am multiplying by a 2. What does this mean? This means that I have horizontal, because it's inside, this is going to be a horizontal change, and this is actually going to be a shrink. Remember, all horizontals need to be reciprocals, so it's actually not 2, it's 1/2. Horizontals are always reciprocaled. So my horizontals need to change by a half. So what does this mean? This means that we need to multiply the overs, the horizontal, by 1/2. So my verticals didn't change. My vertical is still up 1, up 3, up 5, because those are verticals. Those did not change. The horizontals changed. These overs were the horizontals. They're normally always 1s. They're not 1s now. It told us to make it a half. So I need to go over a half up 1, over a half up 3, over a half up 5. So this was me noticing that this multiplied by 2 right here on the inside was a horizontal by a half because we had to reciprocal it. The last thing I see is this outside added 1, and outside add 1 told me to go up 1. So this was me noticing all my Chapter 1 skills. We're just going to graph it using Chapter 1. So I needed to go just up 1. So if I just went up 1, that's where my new vertex is. So I know that my vertex is the coordinate point 0, 1. From here, I need to move my new movement. It's over a half up 1, over a half up 3, over a half up 5. Notice how our horizontal made it really skinny. This is how horizontal and vertical changes are together. They are connected. So this is me graphing it using our Chapter 1 skills. We couldn't do Chapter 2 because this is not in vertex form. Chapter 2 does not have anything connected to the X for vertex form. So we couldn't do Chapter 2 skills on this problem yet. So there are 2 more problems on the bottom of page 3. Please do the remaining 2 problems for independent practice.